So last week I talked about the importance of having a story, and for those who haven't watched, it boils down to this. The most influential people and brands out there are the best storytellers. And these people and brands aren't only great at telling stories, they also live their stories. I also promised to talk about figuring out that story. Because face it, most brands don't have a very clear story to live or tell. Now this is a challenge, I know, but I'm going to try and tackle this nonetheless. I'm going to tackle it in bite-sized pieces. This will be a multi-part series, and today I'm going to talk about the most important part of storytelling, that foundation. And the most important part of storytelling is...
Drum roll, please. Can anybody guess?
I'll tell you right after the jump. My name is Tara, and this is Truly Social. Now, there are some businesses whose stories are easy to see from a distance. And here are some examples just to illustrate. Red Bull's story is about living life to the fullest, taking risks and pushing limits. Red Bull doesn't sell an energy drink, they sell a lifestyle. Apple's story is about stepping back, throwing out conventional wisdom, and rethinking how things could be done better. You know, Apple's think different. But Apple doesn't just sell computers and software, and it's not just a line from an ad. They sell a mindset. The key thing to note here is that these brands don't just use their story as a marketing message. They build that story into everything they do. They live that story.
I'm just living the dream.
And this is key. So these seem like sexy brands in simple industries where stories are easy to tell. There are plenty of examples of their competitors who have weak or no stories at all. Can you tell me the story behind BlackBerry, Samsung, Monster Energy, NOS, or is it NOS? You may recognize the brands, but what are their stories? Do you know what those are? Do you know what they stand for? So what do you stand for? What does your brand stand for? If you want someone to get behind your brand, you need to stand for something bigger than buy my stuff.
Call now. You're gonna get the Grady absolutely free. You're gonna love my nuts.
In the social era, pretty much everything people buy, wear, eat, listen to, read, or otherwise consume is a signal that they're sending out into the world to tell people who they are and what they care about. If they're buying anything less than something that sends that signal, it's a commodity. And that commodity is easily switched out for another commodity at a different time. That's where you get price being a race to the bottom. And companies like Apple do not compete on price at all.
Everyone is waiting for the Mac.
I spend stupid amounts of money on Apple products because I wouldn't be caught dead with a PC. I know, it sounds really ridiculous and shallow. And yes, I also love the hardware and software, but I'm not going to kid myself. I am an Apple fangirl, and I proudly display this to the world because I want people to see me as the type of person who uses Apple.
Look at their faces when they see what it is. They won't know what they're looking at or why they like it, but they'll know they want it.
But on the other side, there are people who wouldn't be caught dead with an Apple product either. It's their story that they are not Apple fangirls and fanboys, that they are not part of this cult. The signal that they're sending is just as strong. My friend Chris Pirillo is one of these people. He revels in laughing at Apple people like me. It's part of his identity, and I love him for it. But how did Apple become part of both Chris and my identities? Well, they took a stand, and it didn't have to be a universally accepted stand either. In fact, they turn off as many, if not more people than they attract, people like Chris. But that doesn't matter. They don't need everyone to buy. That would actually kill the specialness of the Apple fan identity. They just need people who believe to buy. This is the most important part of any story. Standing for something. Having strong, identifiable, authentic, relatable, boundaried, passionate, sometimes divisive and controversial, but always true of heart values. Values are the core to any story. And the stronger and more identifiable those values, the stronger and more identifiable the story. See?
You can't see electricity, can you? You can't see radio waves, but you accept them.
When you have strong values, you will, number one, invest in those values. Your money, your time, your social capital, your everything. Number two, you'll measure your success by how well you are living up to those values. That is the ROI you set. Number three, you stand by those values no matter what. People can threaten, boycott, shun, and otherwise ostracize you, but you stand tall. Number four, you incorporate those values into everything you do. You don't have to be preachy. In fact, you shouldn't be preachy, but you do need to be consistent. And number 5, you put those values above all else. Now the thing is, most people, and definitely most brands, do not have the fortitude to stand by their values this strongly. Sure, they'll write a list of values on a laminated card or a new employee handout. And I've been the employee who got that handout, got excited, and then ended up really heartbroken because, well, the organization didn't stand strong by the values they listed on that card. They didn't act consistently.
I'm not so much let down as I am disappointed.
And that is when the story fails. When the values are written down, but they're not lived. So the first thing you need to do before my next video is to sit down and have a real conversation internally. Ask, what are our values? And even more importantly, are we willing to live and die by them? This is not an easy conversation to have. There's going to be a lot of dissent. Have that conversation in your organization this week, no matter whether your brand or industry is sexy or not. You can be CPG or you can be a B2B financial services company. I can guarantee you that this will be an eye-opening discussion, and you're not going to solve anything in one sit down.
But I want it now!
Oh, and values are not a laundry list of wishy-washy and safe words like integrity, honesty, and openness. Those are baselines and must-haves in today's world. They're not values. If you won't invest in it, can't measure it, won't take a bullet for it, live it, and put it above all else, it's not a value. It's a given. Next week, I'll talk about taking those values and making them into your story. So be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and please go have that conversation about values. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. My name is Tara, and this has been Truly Social.